Our lives, in many ways, are built upon memories. So for a moment, I'd like for you to go back to a memory in time. And if you can't remember, recall maybe your grandchildren or someone very young. Say, maybe on the slides outside here, outside our gym. Or yourself, very young, at the top of a sliding board. And you're at the top. And when you go down, hesitant, how fearful that might be or been. Or the first time that we really got on our bicycle and we're going to take off. What was the experience of that? Or for some, myself including, still rains, diving into water. It just doesn't happen very easily, if at all. I can stand, I can see other people doing it. I have other coaches around. Go, you do it, just jump in, you'll come back. But how fearful that is. And many of us have experienced some kind of that fear. That hesitation, locked in fear. We see what's around us, we see other people doing it, but for ourselves, it seems unmanageable. That's the experience of these disciples at the beginning of this gospel. They're locked in fear. This first day of the week is that Easter Sunday. Just 2 days before, they, in fear, ran and hid. But even in that, they knew what happened to Jesus. And if what happened to him could very easily happen to them. And they're locked in fear, with the doors locked and their lives locked up. Jesus told them over and over how he's going to be with them, that this is going to happen, but still, it was too much to take. And yet, what happens? Jesus comes into this room, comes into this space of gathered together, and he doesn't reprimand them, doesn't ask them to give an explanation, but rather breathes on them his Spirit. As God, in the first chapters of Genesis, breathed upon his creation and gave life, he breathes on them his life. It's a new beginning to unlock us from fears and to really live in his oneness. And the true testimony that we have received his Spirit, we become people of peace. Doesn't mean there's not friction, doesn't mean at times there's still things to be worked on, but we have a peace in the sense that we know God is with us. There's a harmony that our lives are one with God. And as John's gospel continually testifies, Jesus never felt abandoned by his Father. He, in fact, saw and suffered as a sign of glory because he was so in harmony, so in peace. And the fullness of that peace comes to us in those words of forgiveness, of being people of mercy, as we, in the last number of years, traditionally have called this Sunday the Sunday of Divine Mercy, of how we are able to be that gift-giving, that peaceful person, that mission of Christ, continually to allow and hope for new beginnings of people's lives who have been hurt. The testimony comes to us in that person that stands for us, Thomas, our twin, who was missing the first time, but then was gathered. And he had to see the wounds. And it's often one of the mysteries of life, as we know that one who has shared in the same kind of woundness that we are sharing in and have shown us the way to regain life and walk beyond those wounds is what brings us hope. How do we experience the wounds of others, acknowledge them, see them, and even share our own wounds at times, but show that through Christ, how we continue to be renewed, to live in his oneness. Both of these events were when people were gathered together. And that's the essential message, that it is going to be as we are gathered together in community, whether small group or a large setting as the Eucharist on the weekends, that gives us that strength. With everything that's going on in our world today of distractions on what is truth, how we should live, what is justice, we come here once again to see the truth, as St. John says in our second reading today, to refound ourselves, to be a people of the Acts of the Apostles, that we share what we have. But in order to share what we have to know what the other needs that are needed to be shared. And that's what the Sunday Eucharist brings to us. Thomas experienced that capability of finding the real presence of Christ because he was willing to rejoin the community. And it's when we rejoin and keep connected to the community of faith that we become that body of Christ, that harmony of Christ in his presence, and we continue the mission of Christ. As the Father has sent him, he sends us into the world. Pope Francis said he much rather has a church that experiences difficulties, the dirt in the streets, being tangible in people's lives, rather than a place of a building that's protected and doesn't need. The way that we bring the joy of the gospel and the Easter message is bringing it to the streets, in the lives of others, the people around us that we work, the people that are searching for God. But to do it brings us back to the essentialness of this gospel. They were gathered together. They allowed his Spirit to be the Spirit of their lives. They saw themselves sent. And there were people then, in turn, who became Christ to others in mercy. May this be the Easter that we bring to all.